wrestling. Yeah, very interesting episode of Impact. Now, before we get started, I wish to say thank you. For people who watch my AEW review, I don't know how big the number was. The last time I saw it was like, 200 something, I think. But no matter what the number is, thank you. I don't normally get numbers even past 50, most cases. So, I thank you very much if you want to watch my content. And for new people, subscribe, because I think one person new to subscribe. Hiya, if you're watching this is me. This is the botch fest you're about to get. But, what did we get for Impact Wrestling? About to tell you, but before we get started on the actual content of the channel, and that's the show itself, we have to talk about the production value. And I have to talk about it, and you're going to wonder, wait, production value? What are you talking about? You're not going to talk about the wrestling, about the characters, about the backstage segments? Yes, I will. But on this channel, due to the fact of how bad Impact has been for the last 3 years, I had to cover also the production value of the lighting, the audio work, and particularly the camera work, because they went by the moniker of Vince and Kenny McMahon. Make it look cinematic. Make it look like shit. So, I have to cover it, because no one else is covering it. Even in AEW, I would cover it when they mess up. So here I do the same thing. Now, for all the matches that we had, and also the backstage segments, as well as the interviews, audio was good, the lighting was good, camera work has been actually very good. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. Nothing is perfect in pro wrestling. You're never going to get the perfect shot in the camera. And Impact Wrestling, as I said before, like to do this, and you don't see the rest of the damn show, because they zoom in so much, they miss the content of what they're supposed to be doing. Because if you guys don't understand what I'm talking about, little braid, you need to understand, you're watching me. I gotta at least be within frame. Flat out, that's the deal. You don't want to look at me like this. Who wants that? Look at my damn face. You want to see if I'm a wrestling fan. Look at the stuff I have on my wall. Look, well, my cardboard wall. But you notice I'm a wrestling fan. I may not have the money to be able to get posters and toys and belts, but I care about what I'm doing. You want that. You want to know that the person you're learning from actually cares about the damn content that you're looking up. So Impact Wrestling has not understood that they need to make sure, yes, the people at the arena or the venue need to be catered to. But what about the people at home? If they're seeing this the majority of the time, or this, how the fuck you gonna learn anything? So, have they been improving? Yes, they have. I say at this point, after all the matches, which I am going to talk about, how were they? The majority of the matches you can actually see, because the lighting was good. The audio was good for the wrestlers. You can actually hear them. And when they did in-ring work, and the camera work is now normal. Normal. That's all you need. I have to say it like that, because I'm not saying they need to get the most spectacular shots. We're talking about actually being able to see what's in the ring. And generally speaking, with some errors, it's normal. And that's great. That's all I ever wanted, and I'm sure that's what you want as well. Who wants to watch a show where you can only see half the wrestlers and most of them on their chest or their damn asses? Because Impact has done that. Now, opening is one of the qualifying matches for the Fatal 4 and No Surrender. We got Brian Myers versus Dirty Dango. Now, guys, this is how I feel about Dirty Dango. He needs Tyler Breeze. Matt. I can't remember his full name. I don't even know if he's wrestling right now. But he needs his partner. I want to see, and I know this one person, I believe he's from Australia. He's a cool guy. He loves Johnny Swinger. And I will get to that in a moment about Johnny in the 50 matches. But he loves Johnny Swinger. But I got to be honest here. If you're comparing Dirty Dango and Tyler Breeze when he was Breezango with Tyler Breeze, compared to Johnny Swinger and Ziggy Dice, I'm sorry. This is them. This is them. They are way more funnier. I am just being honest, taking nothing against anything about I want to make this clear. I like Johnny. And they don't show enough of him. I like Ziggy Dice. I saw him in NWA. I saw him in Primetime Wrestling. He is a good, no, what was it, Primetime Wrestling or the Primetime Wrestling Network when they had the pandemic? He's got talent, but they rarely show him on the main show, and they don't show highlights of BTI saying there's going to be something important happening from BTI that's going to be filtered onto the main show. We don't see any of it. So I want to see the Dirty Dango and the former Tyler Breeze, who would be known as, I forgot his name, is Matt. What was his ring name? Matt something. Was the match alright? It was fine. There was no problem. Dirty Dango's Dirty Dango. Seeing him in NWA, and yes, I did do NWA. For anyone who's never seen it, I used to do NWA reviews. It's just, it was very hard to keep up because I was doing the wrestling reviews. I had to still doing animation, and I was having some issues. I had to do some things in the background. I wasn't able to keep up with NWA anymore. But it does not mean I don't love it. But he was there with JTG, and they worked really well. But here, he's by himself. He's signed to Impact, and I wish he had Tyler Breeze. It was a good match, but Brian Myers won, which I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that he won it, because he's been there longer, and they're going to be pushing him going into No Surrender. Now, let's get to the Good Hands versus Tommy Dreamer and Mickie James. Now, was this a bad match? Nope. Did Mickie James do well working with Tyler, working with, let me give it to you like this. Did Hotch and Skylar, I said Tyler, Skylar have to cater to her a bit? Yes, they did, because she's a smaller wrestler, and it's a little more different dealing with a woman than it is a guy. So they had to adjust a little bit. They had to exaggerate their movements a little more than they normally would. That is normal. Let's make it clear. It's normal. But what I want, which should be done, is not Tommy Dreamer versus a Bully Ray. It is Tommy Dreamer being by a Mickie James, but the person who needs to be in the ring with Bully Ray is her damn husband, Nick Aldis. Who wouldn't want to see Nick Aldis in Impact Wrestling for a short month or two? I'm not saying for him to be re-signed to Impact. He don't care about Impact because of how the politics was. He did a podcast with Chris Van Vliet twice when he was NWA champion back in, 2019 and 18. And he did one last year, last year. The middle of last year, he did one. He has no interest going back to Impact and being signed to them. But it doesn't mean he hasn't done a one-off, which he has. The Wrestleverse of Madness, I believe it was called. He did it. I wouldn't mind seeing him there for a week or two, just doing a month of taping with his wife, and then he bugs out. That's what I want. I want to see him work with Bully Ray, because it's more important that Bully Ray deal with him than Tommy Dreamer, because it doesn't feel right that Tommy's defending Mickie James' honor than a Nick Aldis, who is the husband of said female wrestler. I'm just saying. It feels better that way. Now, when it was all said and done, we got pretty much Marsha Slamovich coming in and whooping that ass. Good. And this is where Bully Ray is making her side of this equation work. It is not Marsha who's doing it. It's Bully Ray. Because as you hear from Matt as well as, Tom and Matthew, pretty much they're talking more about Bully Ray convincing a Marsha Slamovich than Marsha coming in. Because as it stands, if you're a Marsha Slamovich fan, you should be pissed off. Because they've done nothing with her. Nothing. They may have let her have a winning streak, but they gave her nothing in the back to do. And she's not Goldberg. Sorry. The way they booked her, she was never meant to be a Goldberg. She was meant to look strong so she can job to other wrestlers. Look what happened. 2 times went up against Jordan Grace and got her ass whooped. And when you see her go up against Mickie James in No Surrender, she gonna get that ass whooped. If she doesn't get that ass whooped, everything that Mickie James went through, and I know that the last ride is over. The last rodeo, actually. But it doesn't make a difference. For her to job that fast to a damn Marsha Slamovich, negates everything in the last rodeo. Negates it all. Because she should not lose to Marsha Slamovich. Period. If she loses to her and Marsha gets the title, then everything she went through was a joke. Seriously, I'm telling you this. You may not believe me, but think about it for a minute. If she lost to Marsha, everything she went through was a joke. Because why wasn't Marsha being with her? Why didn't she go through Marsha then? She would have lost, and then she would have ended the damn rodeo. Think about it. They made sure that she always kept away from her and only dealt with her here. That's bullshit. It doesn't make it look right because she didn't go through the entire roster. She didn't go through Tasha Steelz. It had to be in a damn tag match, and she never went up against Marsha Slamovich, who was on the roster and was available. So I'm telling you right now, if she wins Marsha, that's bullshit. The entire rodeo was a joke. Now let's move on. Let's move on to the... Should I do that now or should I do the Death Dolls? Let's do the Death Dolls first. Death Dolls versus a very strange situation of Killer Kelly and Taylor Wilde, who is a Wiccan, who is a witch, who does Wiccan. And I have to admit, it has been a while since I dealt with someone who used to practice Wiccan. Yes, I did meet someone like that. And I can tell you that it's been many, many years since I've been exposed to someone, so I should have recognized Taylor Wilde, even when she was a face, that there was something off with her. And there was. But I didn't really think about it because I was going through a little bit of problems at that time. A lot of stress. So I didn't recognize it. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, following Wiccan or neo-paganism. Yes, I said neo-paganism. That is where they go through druids and everything else. I did meet them. So, seeing it like that is not a bad thing, as long as she can still do her part as a character and wrestle her ass off, which she does, but now she's adding a little bit of contrast to her character as she's on the ring skirt, while Killer Kelly's in the ring, she's messing with tarot cards. Interesting. That gives her character even more depth than she's needed. In actuality, I'm glad it happened, because when they do stuff in the back, they can add that into a repertoire of her character, which if she is a witch, she should be doing tarot cards, kind of like what's going on with Isla Dawn in NXT, because pretty much that's similar. They're both witches. They're supposed to deal with that. So seeing Taylor Wilde, who's an actual practicing Wiccan, who does probably do tarot, nothing wrong with it. So the match goes on, which is a fine match, but I'm not going to lie here. While this match is going on, I actually wrote down, this feels empty. Because simply, the Death Dolls have had no real competition. Anyone else who's in the tag division for the knockouts have had no competition. You know why? Simple, because they have not been bringing out any indie wrestlers to be basically jobbers to the tag teams that's on the damn roster. The main problem that Impact has had, they got a women's roster. They got knockouts. At one point, the knockouts tag division and the knockouts division years and years and years ago was more compelling than NXT was. They were giving them options in TNA that no one was giving them. Not even WWE was giving them what they were doing in TNA. And they were very well received by everyone. They know TNA/Impact can have great women. But guess what? What the hell is going on with the tag division? Nothing. So I'm going like, yes, this is a fine match, but it doesn't really mean anything because it's a damn non-title match. And literally, they're not even showing the Death Dolls going up against jobbers. They just shoved them out there when they need to just put something else on the show, which was pissing me off. So once the double card was pulled, and Taylor Wilde basically sacrificed a Killer Kelly, which that means now their feud is going to go right back to the way it was, because I knew they were going to go up against each other and eventually become a tag team, but they kind of did it backwards. They went up against each other, they quickly did a tag team, and now they're going to break them back up again. I'm sure of it. Unless they're going to keep them going together, well, Taylor Wilde is going to screw her over more. We get Father James Mitchell. That bastard's in my face. I love that man. Father Mitchell comes out and says, Rosemary, hello, sweetheart. It's been a while. I haven't seen you in so long, but I have something to deal with you. And he also covers Jessica saying, I recognize you from somewhere. I don't know where. You remind me of someone. And you see basically Tyra trying to cover up her ears because they don't want her to go back to Havoc. Well, she doesn't. But simply put, he says, Rosemary, you've shown disrespect to your dad because you have not been saying anything to him. And since he's my boss, since he runs the Undead Realm, he's not happy with you. And he told me to do something. So I give you a hex. I put a hex on you. And then we get Allison Kay and Marty Bell from NWA. Dirty Dango came from NWA. And now the hex has come from NWA. And they basically slaughter them. And now, for the moment, we get the hex in Impact Wrestling. Am I happy? Yes. But does this mean this is going to help the tag division? No. I'm sorry. I am glad Allison Kay is there. I am glad Marty Bell there. I am glad they're going to do double work in the tag division and the regular knockouts division. They're going to do it. You're going to see Allison Kay do singles matches. You're going to see Marty Bell do singles matches. And it's fine. But the problem is to make the tag division for the knockouts feel real full, you need freaking women to job for the ones that are there. Death Dolls need people to job for them. Killer Kelly and Taylor Wilde need people to job for them. If basically Gisele Shaw, and let's say that she was teamed up with Deonna Purrazzo, and I'll get to them in a minute, they need people to go up. That's different. So it'll feel like the entire division is full. Yes, even if you only have 6 women, 3 teams, bring in extra women to work with them from the outside that are different. You can have them go up against each other. The team outside, each one, every other week, just to show variation so the tag division will feel more full. But they don't do it. But let's get to Gisele Shaw walking up with Vidal. And I think I got a shot of it. I don't know if I do. Walking, trying to show some titty, trying to show she's sexy, and Vidal trying to show his titties and show that he's sexy. Both of them walking, both of them showing what they got, and both of them going to the pretty much let me give it to you like this. The area that we're in is catering. And everybody there is catering. And she messed with everybody there in catering, saying that she's a Black Widow and this is what I do. And we get Deonna Purrazzo saying, you know what? I personally don't give a damn what you are. I don't care if you want to be the Black Widow. I got no problem. But you messed and talked about my partner. Now we got a problem. And because you think you're so hot, you're going to learn a lesson. And Vidal gets up in Deanna's face. And she says, what we going to do? And as she's doing that, you get Gisele grabbing a bowl of beans. And as she's about to throw it into Deanna's face, Deanna throws it in her face. I don't know if I got a shot of it. I don't think I do. But if I do, it's in my face. Flat out. She pie-faced her, or whatever you want to call it. Bean-faced her. Now, of course, before that happened, after it happened, we get the director of authority, Santino Marella, coming out saying, you two have a problem. You two have needs salt, but you have a problem. You two will have a match at No Surrender. It really does need salt. Walks away. He only does it once, but I'm doing it twice because I like salt in my food. Well, I don't use salt much, but you get my point. Was that segment funny? Yes, it was. Does it remind you of WWE? As I've said for so many years, Impact Wrestling is WWE light. A lighter version of WWE, doing things that they would have done, but in a much more looser state. So this is what you get from a Impact Wrestling. Something that WWE will probably go way overboard with. They are more modest about it. WWE light, baby. So will I be happy to see that match? Yes, but here's the thing. When that match happens in 2 weeks, they need If they're going to make this work, they're going to need to do two things. One, give Gisele Shaw a win over Deonna Purrazzo. And two, have Gisele Shaw change up her ring attire and her character. If she's going to be the Black Widow, she's got to change her look. I don't care if she's still got to be showing her titties. I don't care if Vidal's going to keep showing his titties. It makes no difference. They must change them both up. The quintessential diva doesn't exist anymore. It's supposed to be the Black Widow. She needs in the next 2 weeks to start changing her ring attire and her attitude. Flat out, if this is going to mean something going forward in Impact, which they want to do, hopefully. I'm just saying. Now, let's see here. Let's go to the Johnny Swinger segment. I got to do this. Johnny Swinger's in the back. Johnny Swinger sees the director of authority, or the dictator of authority, as the dirty Dango wishes to say, because as Johnny is telling the director, he's saying, look, I had a deal, Daddy. I want my shot. I've been told I can get a shot. And he says, I keep my ear on everything. Everything is an ear. But I do know about you, and you need to have 50 wins. You're not getting anything until you're 50 wins. And then Dirty Dango comes over with a pad and is writing up, you don't get any shot. And as the deputy of the dictator of authority says, no, I'm not dictator. I'm you know he's getting to his head. You know Santino is beginning to become a dictator. He wants to become a tin-plated dictator. He wants it so damn bad. And I want to see him start going a little bit over the edge. He wants to try and do a good thing, but Santino is going to slowly, I'm hoping, I want to see him in boots like a dictator, like he's a dictator. I want to see him in a dictator garb. Eventually, I want to see him say, I am the one, like a Mussolini, when he was basically a dictator of his own people back in World War II. And I know some of you people are pretty young, but that actually happened. Mussolini was a person who basically almost enslaved his own people as a damn dictator. You look it up in history. But I want him to look like Mussolini. I want him to act like Mussolini. I want him to rule Impact Wrestling with iron fists until they oust his ass, and then he acts like a bitch, and he's got to make up and become the Santino Marella that's Cobra, if he can even wrestle, because he had bad back problems, and unless he had surgery on his back and he's safe to wrestle, only if he's safe to wrestle, then we can see the Cobra. Until then, I don't want to see him in the ring if he can't handle that. I want to see him safe. He may not be like a Soraya or a Bryan Danielson. Let's just hope he if he does it, he's safe. I'm just saying, let's move on. Now, what else do we have here? The next qualifying match, Shira versus PCO. Let's make this clear. Is PCO over? Oh, he is so damn over. PCO is over like stink. He is so loved by the Impact fans. I am so glad he's still on the roster. Compared to anyone that was from Honor No More, he was the one person I felt that was unique enough that he could make it on the main roster. I love PCO. Now, his match against Shira didn't last very long. Shira got her ass whooped. He got that ass whooped. And in the end, he now moves on to the Fatal 4-Way at No Surrender. Do I feel bad about Shira? Let's make this clear. They have booked Shira into oblivion. I am not a huge Shira fan, but as someone who's been typecast as muscle for someone else for so many years, they don't want to see him out of his character very rarely. And I think Shira's at this point knowing that even if he's probably pitched multiple times, let me try this or let me try that, they have not gone anywhere. Or maybe he's just like, you know what, they're going to be like this and paying me fine. I don't think he's like that because I have seen him in OVW as the TV champion, and he really tried hard to show how good he was on the mic, and with his accent, he's not bad. Let's make it clear. This is not about his accent that makes him an issue, because when you look at Indon Cher, both those guys, they got a thicker accent than he does, and they look like they're going to mean something on the main roster when they throw them on there eventually, if they book them correctly. Shira has always been a decent wrestler. He's not the greatest. He's not crap. He's like here. Sometimes he goes above. He's average to above average sometimes. Nothing wrong with him. But if you typecast him, What do you think a person's going to do eventually? Even if he pitches or she pitches over and over again, let me try this. Let me do this. Let me show you. And they say no. What do? You either walk away or you just take it. I don't know which one it is with him. But you guys tell me below what you think. Now, let's see. Let's do the... Should I talk about this or should I leave it for next week? I'll talk about it. We got a couple of vid packs. We got, one vid pack that I care about was Rick Swann's. Rick Swann's vid pack was done quite well. And I know there's others with the design. I'm not going to cover them. But when it came to Rick, it was done very well. They talked about AEW. They talked about him getting both titles of the Impact and TNA title. They covered they didn't cover about, I'm actually quite surprised, when he came back from injury, when they had to put screws in his ankle because he said there may be no chance he may ever wrestle again. Why didn't he cover that in his vid pack? Why did they glaze over that? I don't understand why. I thought they would have liked to add that in. That he had to come back from adversity when he had basically badly damaged ankle and he had to get screws and a pin and a plate, I think, in his ankle or in his leg. Why didn't they cover that? I don't know why. But they went and covered everything else. And I thought that was done very well. Was that segment after that with Josh Alexander doing his interview and Kenny King interjecting. And then pretty much seeing that Kenny King get bitch slapped by a Rich Swann. Was that necessary? Yes. At this point, they got to build up Rich as much as possible to go up against a Josh Alexander. Yes, he's been winning, but they need to put him up against someone else. And at this point, after what happened with Speedball Mike Bailey, they're going to do something with Kenny King. So maybe they're using that catalyst to help springboard a little bit more up a little bit of Rick Swann, even though Rich is a better wrestler overall and even in character than Kenny King. Look, I don't hate Kenny. He's good. But on the mic and wrestling, he's here. This is Rich Swann. This is Kenny. He's here. Doesn't mean that he's average or below. He's like here. Above average easily. But he's not a Rich Swann. So I think it will not help him a lot, but they're going to use him to boost him. Now, let's see what's left here. I'm trying to look up to see if I'm forgetting anything. If I forget anything, I'm sorry. There's a lot of stuff that not always gets put into these videos. If you're seeing me the first time, there's not all the time I add everything in this review, because either I think it should be saved for another week because I want to see it develop, or I just forget my ass off. I just forget because there's so much to try and talk about. So let's just talk about, let's do the Digital Media Championship. I believe that's the best thing to talk about. Digital Media Championship. He's still a bitch. That's the title. I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with this title. He's still a bitch. You see Matt Cardona just pissed the hell off being called Edge's bitch. Now, I want to say this clearly. We rarely hear a wrestler who's been in a rival promotion usually spoken about. It is very rare. Let's make this clear. They'll mention Impact Wrestling and AEW, even MLW and NWA. They'll mention the other promotions. They usually do. And sometimes if it's a legend, they'll mention a legend. In Edge's case, not many people mention Edge. Not because he's not a great wrestler and a legend. It's just you don't usually mention Edge, particularly in a storyline. You don't usually do that. So I commend, and usually Impact's writing team is not always on point. A lot of times they make a lot of mistakes. But here, they've done something interesting. They actually have made people care about Matt Cardona because he used to work with Edge. Used to be an Edge head. Using that has really means something in this situation, which I have no problem with. It's actually very good to see this. I am glad to see something like this. I'm glad to see that they're using an actual piece of Matt Cardona's own history to help promote him in the company in a way that no one would expect. And him being called Edge's bitch and seeing him get pissed off. And when he first comes in, he clearly is being treated like garbage because instead of him having a regular dressing room or a curtain, because he's asking, hey, I'm here, I'm supposed to be in the main event, and one of the people, I don't know if I got a shot of him, he's in my face, he's supposed to take him to his dressing room. And he takes him to a place where it's got food laid out and everything, and he thought that he was Joe Henley. And he says, no, I'm Matt Cardona. I'm the challenger. Where's my dressing room? So he takes him to a damn broom closet. And that pisses his ass off. And then later in the night, you see him talk to somebody else and said, look, I'm in a damn broom closet. I'm supposed to be in the damn main event. I'd rather dress outside in the damn parking lot than stay in here. I deserve respect. I deserve my own dressing room. And the guy says, okay. Walks him. He says, good. Finally, someone's going to show me respect. And guess what? He opens the door out into the parking lot and says, there you go. He says, you serious? And he closed the door and said, I don't even have my bag. And he throws the bag out into the parking lot so he can get dressed. I will say they're going pretty far with this, making Matt Cardona mean something in the situation, even when he's interviewed by Gia. I'm telling you, seeing him pissed off is great. Seeing that Brian Myers, who won his match, is clearly taking a little bit of Joe Henley, even going over to his dressing room, getting some food and fruit cocktail, whatever. I think it was, what was it? He was eating shrimp cocktail, and Matt was mad. What are you doing? And all of the crews started coming from the back, clapping Joe Henley's stuff. And he gets angrier and angrier. And that leads into the match. Now, was the match good? Yes. Look, you can say a lot about Matt Cardona, but he's a damn good wrestler. Joe Henley, not saying he's not a good wrestler, but the person who had to make this mean something was Matt Cardona. No matter if you like Joe Henley or not, if you think he's a better wrestler than Joe Henley, let me give it to you like this. Joe Henley is like here at this moment. It's not just because of his wrestling, it's just his position. Matt's here. And what Matt did was bring him up. That's Matt's job, to make the other guy look good. He had to make this match mean something. And after he lost the match and did not gain the Digital Media Championship, once we saw Moose spear him out of his boots, and that's Matt Cardona, you get Joe Henley playing Matt's new theme song and basically calling him Edge's bitch. And he is so mad. And I believe I got the shot of him seeing shock on his face. It's in my face. Guys, was this a good segment? Yes. Do I believe you need to watch the show? Yes. Is Impact been good lately? Yes, it has. They've been having regular camera work, regular lighting, regular audio work. Most of the storylines already. Oh, I'm going to leave the match between Jordynne Grace and Stetson Delandio. What was her name? Delander. I believe her. Steph Delander. I'm going to leave it alone. Yes, she lost the match. I'm going to leave it alone because I want to see where she's going to develop. Because she just debuted, had a hard match with Jordynne Grace and lost. I'm not going to give my thoughts on it. I just want to see the next couple of weeks how they book her. So I'm leaving it. But generally speaking, the show looked good. We got some interesting content for the next 2 weeks going into No Surrender. Is it going to be great content? No, but it's interesting to see next to them finally understanding they need to bring up their production value. They now have changed up how they're doing the style of their wrestling as well as the style of the booking. Like when it comes to Trey Miguel. I'm not going to talk about Trey and Crazy Steve right now. I want to see how this is going to develop when it goes into No Surrender. Because they're going to have their match in No Surrender. There's just no way. Unless they're going to be stupid enough to do it next week or the week after. It's going to happen in No Surrender. So this is going to be interesting next couple of weeks. But that's just me. And I hope you enjoy this Impact Wrestling. Please give me a comment below. And I hope you did enjoy also the intro. I did use one of my original intros that didn't have any images in it. I thought I would put it in just this once. Because I am considering redoing it. Because some people who know me, I did another intro, which was, I was told they liked it. So I might do a new one with that same part on my intro. Peace.